Hello everyone, this is Midlife Music Teacher and I'm Mrs. G. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about professional development. So let's take it from the top. As a teacher in general, music teacher specifically, a lot of us will take time during the summer to do professional development. And most states, and my state included, require teachers to do so many hours of PLUs, professional learning units, in order to renew their certificate. A lot of districts will offer professional development during the school year, whether they're professional development days or faculty meetings might count towards PD, or they might have book studies. And so I participated in all of that last year during the school year. However, it is necessary to supplement those hours with other things. A lot of times, teachers will seek out professional development during summer vacation. One of the things that I do is I look for free PD during the summer. Now, I will just say that as a music teacher of 27 years, and I have spent those 27 years in one district, but I have not done the same job for 27 years. I've taught beginner band, chorus, general music, integrated arts, preschool parent and child enrichment. I've taught summer programming, secondary choral, middle school. And so I've kind of been all over the place. I've had classrooms, I've pushed carts, I've taught in available space wherever it may be, including a closet. And so I have a lot of different experiences despite being in the same district for all 27 years. And I have done a lot of professional development. And there's lots of ways you can earn professional development hours. You can do anything from taking a collegiate level course, a graduate course, to reading articles or reading a book or watching a video. So it all depends on how those hours are documented and recorded, and then how they are approved by your district and then sent to your state when it comes to the recertification process. So there's a lot of ways you can earn PD. And my local Music Educators Association offers a lot of great PD, but they don't usually offer anything during the summer. And that's when I feel like I have the time and energy to do it. So I seek out virtual professional development. That's free. And I will say this, a lot of PD over the past, I would say, 10 years of my career, a lot of it is hit or miss, especially the free virtual ones. And whatever, hours count as hours, but I do find it difficult to be engaged in a virtual session. While it's necessary for me to get these hours, sometimes I'm not offered anything new. So over the past few days, I have been attending a virtual PD called the Music Room Meetup Summit. And it was hosted by Aileen Miracle. Even though there were 5 or 6 sessions that you could attend, I signed up for the free version. So you have those 6, you have 24 hours to watch them, and then they expire. You could pay money to have access to all of them until January 15th, but I'm cheap and I didn't do that. So I didn't watch all of them. I did 3 yesterday and 3 on Friday. And while I have found all these presenters to be very engaging, very knowledgeable, they know what they're talking about. However, I haven't really learned anything brand new or earth-shattering or mind-blowing. And it is nothing against the presenters. They were wonderful. And I can see how valuable some of these things are to somebody who's starting out, somebody who has had a maybe a level change. Maybe they taught secondary for a long time and now all of a sudden they're doing elementary. And it is called the Music Room Meetup. However, this was very, very geared towards elementary music ed. One of the sessions on Friday was Kodai for the primary grades. And again, although I'm not Kodai trained, I have attended Kodai workshops and things like that. And so what she really presented was kind of the philosophy of Kodai and kind of how you can use that to structure your lessons, how Kodai is about preparing, presenting, and practicing, using physical, visual, and oral means for ultimately music literacy. And so my school district does purchase Essential Elements music class online curriculum for me. And that curriculum really kind of follows the Kodai philosophy. It's not a Kodai curriculum, but it does kind of follow that philosophy. One of the big takeaways I took from that workshop was a variation of the game Apple Tree. And I've used the song Apple Tree for many years, and I know a couple of versions of the game. And I learned a new version, and it's an interesting version, and I think I'm going to use it this upcoming school year. Then there was a presentation on ORF Schulwerk. And again, I'm not ORF trained. I really don't have the means to do an ORF program. I don't have a lot of ORF instruments at my disposal in my district. And I know that if you wanted to do an ORF program, you don't need a whole bunch of instruments. There are ways around it. And the presenter did share ways that you can use the ORF techniques with only a few instruments. ORF philosophy, really about preparatory play, imitate, explore, label, and create. Nothing that I didn't really already know or learn about, but one thing that he presented was this analogy. He had this little decorative Christmas tree, and he kind of showed how the skinny part, the little part of the tree is the top, and the wide part of the tree is the bottom. That's the high part, that's the low part. What happens if you tip the tree on its side? If somebody chops the tree over, isn't the little part still the top? It's the high part, even when it's not high. And I just thought that was a great analogy. I do sometimes struggle with that when having pitched percussion for my students to use, like how, small means high, big means low, but that's a great analogy that like everybody knows what a Christmas tree looks like. I saw a presentation about what to expect in kindergarten, and I have some thoughts about kindergarten because 6 years ago when I was involuntarily transferred to my current placement, I did not have a lot of experience with kindergarten music. I mostly taught upper elementary to middle school aged children. And I just remember this workshop would have been great prior to my beginning at this placement, but I've learned a lot about kindergarten since then in various workshops. So what this presentation offered would have been so helpful 6 years ago. But again, I've learned how to teach kindergarten. I've learned how to manage and structure a 45-minute class period with a bunch of 5-year-olds who don't know how to do school yet, who have no idea who you are, who don't understand why are we here kind of deal. So I saw 2 workshops where they talked about kindergarten, and both of them kind of emphasized this steady beat and vocal exploration. And those are 2 things that I really do focus on in kindergarten. We do it through games, we do it through movement, we do it through all kinds of activities. So vocal exploration / singing voice and steady beat. So again, nothing that I didn't really already know. I also watched 2 sessions, one on back to school basics. And that session, honestly, I've had a lot of first days of school. And so I really didn't get anything new from that session. The presenter was very good, but basically making sure that you create relationships, establish a routine, and a structure, go over your expectations and your rules. And then also on Saturday, I attended a workshop on 5 steps for teaching students with special needs. And that one was actually really great. It was presented by Jeanette, the happy music teacher. I already subscribed to her email list, but her presentation was really great and talked about different things to do while keeping your special needs students in mind, and just reminding you that just because a special needs student might not be participating doesn't mean that they're not learning or enjoying your class. Tips for things to ask their special ed teacher or their paraprofessional and things like that. So that one was really good. And then Sunday, on the final day, I would say that that was probably the best day of the summit. The first workshop I listened to was about making your own play-along videos. And if the pandemic gave us anything, play-along videos were something that came out of it. And while there are so many options on YouTube, sometimes you're just looking for something that just doesn't exist. And so this was kind of a guide to make play-along videos, some free resources that you can download to use to make the play-along videos. I watched a session about teaching various genres to primary grades, hip hop, rock, reggae, film music, things like that, and how you can introduce those genres to, mostly it was for second grade, but how you can kind of modify those for grades 1 and K as well. And then finally, the most beneficial one that I watched was about centers. And I give centers as part of my rewards class. And I only tried centers for instruction one time when I first got transferred to this elementary position. This is some video I took of the centers that I gave back in 2019. And man, I've learned a lot since then. This station, they got to use the blank paper and these little notes and some glue sticks and crayons. Apparently my glue sticks are duds. And they created cute little pictures with them. This station, they did this worksheet. And they had to figure out how many of each of those instruments. Station, they had a color page. It looks like that. And so I made them a little guide for the color page. This station was a little coloring page. And for first graders, the last station was also apple tree with the pulse, the heartbeat, steady beat. I've done plenty of small group things, small group activities galore, but never anything like this, where the kids did a different center every few minutes. There were some positives and negatives to it. One of the positives to it was that it gave me an opportunity to assess small groups of children at a time while the rest of them were busy. The downside is there was a lot of setup, a lot of cleanup, and the way our schedule works, we don't have time in between classes. So it cut into my lunch. I only had 20-minute lunches all week this week because of the centers. I think I'll probably approach things a little bit differently if I do centers in the future, which I might. It just didn't work out. I didn't like it. And I just felt like it wasn't something that I could sustain or do again. And the pandemic happened and I've taken a lot of student teachers and I just never got around to trying centers again. So this workshop was really informative to the point where I feel like I can try to do centers again this upcoming school year, and I will use some of her tips. So bottom line is I got about 6 hours of PLUs from attending this music room meetup summit. I got some great information. The presenters were all wonderful. And thinking back on professional development that I've had over the years, 3 of them stand out to me. One PD that I attended back before I even finished my college education was in March of 1998. I attended a divisional conference, and one workshop was led by Lynn Kleiner. It really stuck out in my mind. So when I got my job in the fall of 1998 and I was told I was going to be teaching preschool, I went out and I purchased her book. And I still have that book today. It is all falling apart, and I use songs and games and activities from that book to this day with my students. Another one was also from a divisional conference. This was probably about 25 years ago, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who gave the workshop, but it was all about rhythm stick drills, he called them. And there was one for Radetzky March and one for William Tell Overture. And I still use those stick drills today. They're super fun. The kids love them. And finally, one that's a little more recent is one of my state's music educator workshops, and they had Alice Hamill come out and give a workshop. And this was by far probably one of the best PD session workshops I've ever been to. If you are a music educator and you don't know who Dr. Alice Hamill is, please go look her up. She has books, videos, podcasts, all kinds of things on teaching music to children with special needs. The activities and the information given at that workshop are things that I use with my students every day about differentiating instruction, about giving students choice. And that was a very hands-on, very engaging workshop that I use the things that I learned at that workshop almost on a daily basis. What are some of your favorite professional development? Are there any things that I could look into for myself as a veteran teacher that might be engaging or eye-opening or new? Drop it in the comments below. With that, we'll end on a high note. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.